baby. Let's start by talking about the Constitution and democracy. A little education this morning. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. So let's talk facts, all right? Because across the U.S., politicians are trying to sneak religion into public schools. Posters of the Ten Commandments on classroom walls, chaplains without clinical training, voucher programs funneling public money into private religious schools, schools that often exclude LGBTQ students and non-Christians. It's happening right now. But the Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting back. Just recently, they won a victory in federal court blocking a Texas law that would have forced every public school classroom to display the Ten Commandments. That's what it looks like to defend the First Amendment in court, in Congress, and in the classrooms, because public education should stay public. Kids should learn math, science, and history, not be pressured into religion. Learn more at ffrf.us/school or text my first name, Don, that's D-O-N, to 511-511. Don't let your rights be rewritten. Go to F as in Frank, F as in Frank, R as in Robert, F as in Frank.us/school or text Don to 511-511. Text fees may apply. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Topics, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Let me just ask you guys this. How are you guys doing this morning? I mean, we've been dealing with some heavy stuff. Good morning, Andrea, Lemon family. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Look at the engagement. It's incredible. Hi, Wendy Woodbury from Southern California. Hello to you. Hello, Lucinda Hayes. Tell me how you guys are doing. Yeah. Producers, how are you doing? I didn't ask you guys this. We talked a little bit. How are y'all doing after this? Watching all this stuff about the shooting.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, right?
It is.
It definitely gets overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we done this? And what has come of it? Like, nothing comes of it, right? Boston and Northern Virginia here. But we were kind of discussing the politicians' responses this morning, which we're going to do. And as you guys, because we have to like gather all this stuff and try to keep, but it's got to get to you. I mean, it's frustrating for me, especially to hear some of the stuff we're going to play, the Fox News people and the MAGA administration and MAGA cultists. It's got to be, what do you guys, I want to know what you think about it. What do you think, Peter?
I suppose the one silver lining to this whole affair is that, if I did not have this job, if I did not work in this industry, I would still be mired in all of these headlines. I would still be watching these clips on social media and reading about this in the newspaper. And so at least with this responsibility, I feel like I'm doing something about it. I'm getting the word out. I am trying to in some way fight back or educate people. So that, I suppose, is uplifting and it makes me feel genuinely fulfilled. But yeah, it's an incredibly dark time. I just saw a post from Matt Iglesias, a writer, a Substacker this morning, and he said, in effect, this entire month has had real waning days of a dying empire vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And between troops in the streets, the CDC being sicked to smithereens, Russia on the march, it does just feel very dark right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I agree with Peter that it does make me feel better to be a part of a show that's talking about these things and helping people in the community here. But yeah, I'm just trying not to get desensitized by all this news, because I don't know about you, Don, throughout your career, but for me, it's pretty easy to fall into that.
Yeah, it is. It's always tough. I always say, the worst story I've ever covered was Newtown. when people ask, and I think I've spoken about that. And I'll share my experience with that a little bit later, but it does get to you. But I think that I'm glad, this is going to sound weird. I think it's good in some way that it does get to us, that we haven't become inured and just hardened, and it's like, oh, another shooting. Because I feel that's what many people in America are doing, and it's not necessarily their own fault, but it's because nothing ever comes of it and it happens so often, right? Nikki?
No, I completely agree. It's dark, and I do definitely see that sentiment of almost people turning numb to it. Which I try not to let that happen, and I do think that, yes, working on something like this is certainly an outlet for the anger. It helps make you feel a little better that you're doing something, but it's hard when you see it constantly. It's nonstop. It's just another one, another day. I mean, I remember back in, was it April, when we got the statistic that we had more shootings than days in the year so far that year. That's upsetting. So,
Yeah.
I just tell everyone, you gotta stay informed, but also take some time for yourself, because it's hard and it's dark.
Yeah, I always tell people you can be informed without being inundated, right? And I believe that 100%. I've been saying that for years, even before I started this program. That was my saying. You can be informed without being inundated. And I can't remember if I don't know where I heard that from. Something very similar. If it was like a Deepak Chopra or Tony Robbins or something, I don't remember. But someone said something very similar, and I was like, yeah, you can know things. You can be educated, informed, without feeling like you're just being bombarded and inundated with just stuff all the time. So anyway, I say that to tell you that, we have to go through this because it's the news, and I think it's important to get it out there so that people know, and that we can at least try to prevent these things from happening again. I also, you guys know I love to take the stigma off of mental health. It's really important. And otherwise, if we don't do that, and if we are like, oh, people are crazy and that kind of thing, it's like, no. Someone did not realize that this person had mental health issues and did not even see a therapist. Or we're going to talk about whether it's antidepressants or whatever, because there's controversy now. RFK Jr. is saying some stuff about SSRIs or antidepressant medications or whatever, just sort of generalizing. But anyway, we're going to go through the whole litany of things. But I say this because I've covered so many of these shootings. And I remember, God, I can't, Aurora and Newtown and just many of them. I did not go to Columbine, but I'm old enough to remember Columbine. It's just sort of the one that sort of started it all off. And I can't believe it. It's how long ago that's been. That was like that was in the 90s, like 97, 98, I forget. Look up when Columbine was. And I remember when Columbine happened, and I think I was in St. Louis. It was my third on-air TV job or something like that. And it was devastating. And it lasted for weeks. The coverage lasted for weeks. And now, 25 years ago, 1994, 1995, is that when it was? No, 99. It was 99. Yes. And, yeah. 25 years ago. Can you believe that? 1999. And we all I can still see the pictures of the kids who were walking out of the school. You guys remember all of that? And then I remember Sandy Hook happened. Sandy Hook was 2012, December of 2012. I think it was December 13th, right before Christmas. So I'll just tell you, and then I'll move on and talk about the news, because we're going to talk about this MAGA death cult. Because it's strange what they're doing right now. And why they don't want some sort of sensible legislation, why they are blaming liberals and Democrats, and it's just crazy. And the news media, they're going after Jen Psaki on MSNBC. It's literally lunacy. So I will tell you that When people ask me the hardest story that I've ever covered, and I've covered a lot of hard stories. I've covered Ukraine. I've gone to foreign countries, wars. I've been I worked in the Foreign Bureau in Delhi for CNN. I have been covered in the field, some really horrible things, including Uvalde and all kinds of things. And I've done it from the anchor desk where you're just exhausted. So as a correspondent and whatever, and as a reporter, devastating hurricanes, people dying, all kinds of crazy weather. I've covered just about everything. But the worst thing that I've ever covered was Newtown. And I just remember I got there and we just flooded the zone with people, and there were so many people there. And I just walked up there was a memorial growing, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do a report on this. And I think my producer called the control room and said, hey, there's a memorial, Don standing here. And they took me. And from that moment when they took me, I never really left the air, because that memorial in the center of town in this little park thing became the center of everything, if you guys remember that. And people would come and they'd bring photographs, they'd bring candles, they'd bring pictures, they'd bring flowers, they'd bring all kinds of trinkets and notes and cards and ribbons. And it just went from this little thing that started to this big thing. And there I was. And I was like, well, I thought, because usually like the anchor person, whatever, is the center, the person who's covering the story. But every single show is like, let's go to Don at the memorial. And I was just there covering the memorial, just reading stuff for the entire time that I was there. And I just remember I would go to, I would walk from that memorial and I would go across the street. There was a bar restaurant, and I would sit at the counter at the bar restaurant, and I'd have lunch. I would get I think they even had like a gumbo or something. And I would get lunch, a soup or something, whatever it was. And then, or I'd go grab a snack and then I'd go back and do the next live shot. And they'd say, you're clear for 45 minutes. And I would go in to grab something. And then there was a TV in the place. And then eventually they carved out a little spot for me, because I would come I was just there the entire time. And I would watch the Obama speech from there. When he broke down, he started crying. And then I would go out and I'd do my live shot, and I'd come back and go out and do my live shot. And this went on for days, like for a very long time. And and then finally it went on for so long that we ended up renting a house, like an Airbnb, because we were there for so long. And so I was with the crew, so that the crew and all of us could be together. And we ended up renting a house and the work thing, whatever. So we were there for a while. And I just remember it was right before, just a couple of days before Christmas. I was there from like the 13th or whatever when it first happened. Actually, I was in DC when it happened, on the air. And then I took the Amtrak all the way to Stanford, I think, and then drove to Newtown. And I just remember when the funerals started happening, and devastating. But the last day that I was there, and I didn't know it was going to be my last day, I was hoping that it would be my last day. And I was doing a live shot. And as I was doing the live shot from that memorial, there was a white hearse driving by, and there was a mom who was leaned up against the window like this, and then the dad who had his head on her shoulder, and then their hands were sort of up. It was kind of like this. She was, leading and whatever. And so you could see that they were holding hands. And then as they went past, in the back of the hearse was a casket about this big. And I just could not hold it together, because this person must have been like a preschooler for this little tiny casket in the back of this giant hearse, white hearse. And I remember talking about it on the air, and I was like, oh God, I hope I can get through this. And I remember talking about it on the air, and then as soon as they said finish, and I said, whatever, I don't know who, I forget who it was. I don't know, Wolf, or I don't know if it was a Dayside show, Anderson, I don't know. And I said, back to you, or whatever. And they said, Don, you're cleared, you can go home. And I was like, Thank you. The train station in Stanford, I think it was like 45 minutes or an hour away, and I had to return a rental car and then make a train to New York City. And it was traffic in the evening, and I drove on the shoulder of the road because I couldn't stay there any longer. I drove on the shoulder of the road, returned the rental car, and ran to the train station. And I literally, I'm not kidding you, I'm not exaggerating, I swear, the doors to the Amtrak, or what, I don't remember, Metro North, I'm not sure what it was, closed behind me. I was so happy to get out of there. And but I just kept thinking, those people can't leave. Those families can't leave. They're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. And, you know, so it wasn't about, I was like, I'm being selfish because I can't handle this as just reporting on this tragedy. But the families of those children and that whole community, they were going to have to deal with that forever. And it was so senseless. 20-some kids, people, excuse me, had just, their lives had just been wiped away as if it was nothing. And then it's weird because as soon as I got home, I got sick. I got the flu. I don't know what it was. And I was just like sat just before Christmas. And I remember I went from New York. I stayed in New York for a couple of days. And then I went to my family in Louisiana, and I just slept on my mom's couch, and I was sick the entire time, and they took care of me. And then I watched the pictures, and I watched the story immediately change to, we should not be talking about this. The liberals are doing this. They want to take your guns. We should be grieving instead of talking about gun legislation. It's like, I just sit there and scream at the TV and go, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Unbelievable. And now that's what's happening again. Right now, 3 people are dead. They're focusing on 2 kids, right? An 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. At least 17 people have been injured in this. They're focusing on the identity of the shooter and making it an issue. This whole trans thing, they're making an issue when, and we should get, if you can find the cover of the New York Post for me, please, real quickly, and let me know if you guys find it and throw it up. Making that an issue about transgender people in terror when 99.9% of these shooters are young white men, and they don't say, white man terror, but they want to call it transgender terror or whatever it is. They talk about, the criminal mind, but the post of the criminal mind, but they don't do that when it's a shooter. This person has mental health issues. We need to focus on the mental health. But I want to see the cover of the Post. And yeah, demonic. Transgender maniac shoots up Catholic school, morning mass, killing 2 kids. Now, they don't say demonic. Young white male maniac shoots up. Do you feel me? Their priorities are in the wrong place. And yes, it is bigoted and it's racist. It's transphobic and it's racist. Now imagine if it was, I want to see the cover of the New York Post that says, straight white male maniac shoots up Catholic school. Why doesn't that happen? Their priorities are in the wrong place. Case in point of priorities being in the wrong place. All you have to do is go to Sean Hannity talking about how these things are preventable. and giving the most bogus bullshit advice except for gun legislation. Here it is.
And here's the saddest part. School shootings are preventable. And simple, basic, common sense actions can mitigate these tragedies. If we have the desire to stop school shootings, this is the first thing you should do. Every school in the country should have a metal detector. You have them at airports. You have them when you're around elected politicians. By the way, they have armed guards around them.
Pause. Okay. Do you know what they don't have in airports? Guns. Do you know why those metal detectors are there? So that people can't get guns in. Do you know what people don't come to the airport with? For the most part, unless some people come, right? And they go, oh, I forgot the gun was in my bag. But usually people don't go to the airport with guns because they realize that guns are a problem. It's problematic in those situations when you have a bunch of people like all together. But in the one place that we realize that everyone should not have a gun and should be walking around with a gun is in airports, Sean Hannity. Don't be an idiot. The people who are in charge of law enforcement and security have the guns. The citizens and civilians and the passengers don't have guns, you idiot. Keep going.
You have to control the entry of kids and the perimeter around every school. And by the way I would do it, I would hire retired military, trained law enforcement, retired with concealed carries. They should be in every school in the country, along with metal detectors, along with a secure perimeter. Now, for these people that you hire, you could even do it and not pay them. What do you mean? Hannity, everyone's going to work for free?
Someone made a very good point. Does he not realize, did he forget that the shooter shot through a window? Excuse me. I don't mean to laugh, but how stupid is this? These people, these MAGA brains are so twisted, these conservatives, with this bullshit about security. And then you don't have to pay them. Okay, go on.
Offer them tax incentives if they are willing to volunteer a certain number of hours a week. I believe these common sense practices would help mitigate these horrific shootings, probably put an end to it. And by the way, that means they pay no local taxes, no state taxes, no federal taxes. And if they put in enough hours, how about no estate tax if they pass away and they get to do what they want with the money that they've already paid taxes on? And, you know, the left's rush to immediately blame Republicans, race to blame guns for every tragedy. It's sad, but it's pathetic, but it's predictable.
Okay. These people are, every time they do that, he is purposefully trying to deflect and change. You know, this is a form of Epstein derangement syndrome, right? Anything we can do to not talk about Epstein, anything we can do to not talk about guns, the problem with guns. Well, you know, people die in car accidents and you don't ban all cars. No one is saying ban all guns. But guess what? In order to own a car, I know it's simplistic and everyone says it every time, you have to have a license to drive it. You have to have insurance for it. There are tests for you to be able to do it. There are limits for where you can drive. There are restrictions on what you can do. There are stop signs, yield signs, all these things that tell you, you can do this, you can do that. It comes with limits, as the Second Amendment does as well. But we want to pretend that it is like the Bible or like the Ten Commandments. Like we have been granted these things by the Almighty Constitution. When that is just bullshit. Jen Psaki over on MSNBC had a couple things to say, and I think Jen Psaki is all of us. We're going to play her, but let me just get to so that I want you to hear what Jen Psaki is saying, and I want you to hear how she's being attacked. Now, she's a mom and she has kids about the same age as these students. First, a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Shopify. The origins of this show started as just an idea and a dream, and here we are. The Don Lemon Show is not only just a streaming show, a podcast, it is a business, and Shopify makes it possible. Millions of entrepreneurs use Shopify to turn their dreams into real businesses. They power 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from big brands to brand new creators. And yes, we use Shopify right here to bring you the merch that you love and we love as well, that you demanded. So worried you can't design a website? Shopify has ready-made templates. Need to polish product photos or write better descriptions? Shopify has AI tools built just for commerce. Want to reach new customers? Shopify helps with easy email and social campaigns, and their award-winning customer support is their team. They're there 24/7 for you. So don't let your dream sit on the shelf. Turn what if into, and sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. And one more time, shopify.com/lemon. Support comes from Ollie. If my dogs, Boomer, Barkley, Gus, if they could talk, they'd beg for Ollie. They kind of do anyway. With the tail wags, the goofy grins, the little jumps when the food comes out. That's the Ollie effect. That's them communicating, saying, we love this. I've tried every kind of food for my boys. Kibble, so-called premium brands, and half the time, they just sniff and they'd walk away, right? But with Ollie, empty bowls every single time. Ollie delivers fresh human-grade food. No fillers, no preservatives, just real meat and vegetables made in U.S. kitchens with recipes like fresh beef, sweet potatoes, fresh turkey, and blueberries. And even picky eaters go nuts. All right, so look at this. Look who just showed up when I started talking about Ollie. Honestly, sometimes I think my dogs are eating better than I am. So take their quiz. They have a 30-second quiz, and Ollie will build a meal plan just for your pup, right, Barkley? Plus, Ollie is the only fresh dog food that comes with unlimited routine health screenings, because healthy food should mean a healthier life. So head over to ollie.com/lemon and use the code LEMON for 60% off your first box. That's OLLIE.com/lemon. Fresh food, happier dogs. That was by Barkley, and you heard them barking in the background. Look, my dogs are my life, and my dogs are here. No matter where I am, if I'm in a work studio, home studio, whatever, they're there, and sometimes they bark, and that's just what dogs do. It's like babies crying. That's what babies do. My sister, who passed away, would always say, hey, that's what dogs do, and she's right. Yeah, Barkley's adorable. So's Boomer. Boomer's the black one, and then Gus is the other little senior one. Okay, so my friend Jen Psaki, I think, has been doing a great job. Very relatable, very real, very raw. You don't often see that with news anchors, and I think it is commendable what she's saying and how she's dealing with this on the air. Very similar to how I would deal with it on the air. And you just be you. You stop being a news anchor and just be a human being. But she's being attacked for it. But first, here's my friend Jen Psaki.
I have been thinking, as I'm sure everybody who has consumed this today has been doing as well, about my kids who happen to be about the same ages as the two who were killed, about sending them off to school this morning. I've been thinking about their friends and their teachers, about all of the parents, about all of the grandparents out there navigating the return to school. And all they should be hoping to do is have someone to sit with at lunch or someone to play with on the playground. And they should be waiting to hear an update when they get home. And that is not what these parents at this school experience today. Sorry, this is a tough one. Having your child killed while they are sitting in a pew for a morning prayer service is not what any parent should have to worry about. And I have felt a mixture of anger and a lot of anger and emotional exhaustion about this today, as I'm sure many of you have, because we have been here so many times. And yet again, like clockwork, half of the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the thoughts and prayers, and then comes the attempt to shift the focus. This is what always happens. You're going to start seeing narratives. You're already seeing them. They're already out there about how the shooter was trans. You're going to see narratives about how the shooter appeared to be anti-Trump and anti-Semitic and clearly was in the midst of a mental health crisis. There's no question about that. But here's the thing. There are trans people all over the world. There are anti-Semitic people, unfortunately, all over the world, and people filled with plenty of political hate all over the world. And mental health issues are not unique to the United States, and yes, we should do more to address them, but it's also an issue all over the world. But this is the only country where shootings like this one happen this often. The United States not only has the highest rate of gun violence of any country in the world, it's become a leading cause of death for young people and teenagers in this country. That should make everybody angry. Weaponizing the shooter's identity is meant to distract from what matters. That is what they are doing, trying to distract from what matters. Here's what matters. Today's shooter bought the rifle, handgun, and shotgun they used to do what they did today legally. We live in a country with more guns than people, where there are not universal background checks, there are not bans on assault weapons, and it is far too easy to buy a gun. It's the guns, everyone. It's not really a secret.
Thank you, Jen Psaki. She's 100% correct. How can you argue against that? How can you argue against that? Someone said that my friend Erin Burnett had a hard time on the air last night. I didn't see it. I'll check that out, and I'll reach out to her. But Jen is right, and who can fault her for that? Except for those who she's exposing. Like, once again, idiot Sean Hannity.
Former Biden White House press secretary circle back Jen Psaki trying to pin the blame on Donald Trump with a bizarre tweet citing his efforts to crack down on crime in D.C., which, by the way, for the record, circle back, he has been enormously successful in doing. She wrote, quote, when kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe rethink your strategy. No, they've been stopping the murder rate, the homicide. We went 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks without a single murder. They usually have 3.6 a week. Maybe somebody at MSDNC can open a book, learn something about AI, do a little bit of research instead of just peddling lies and conspiracy theories. What about the dozens of the school shootings that have taken place, by the way, when Circle Back Psaki was press secretary? Did Biden do anything to prevent those? And then
Sean Hannity, you fucking ignorant asshole. I could say that here. There's a time where I couldn't say that. But you are an ignorant asshole. The little petty name calling of someone who is obviously a mother who understands what these families are feeling and who's not trying to shift the blame to something other than where it belongs. And that's on the people who are continuing to allow this to happen. Like you and the other crazy right-wingers and stupid MAGA brain people who continue to allow this to happen. All the while glazing Donald Trump and kissing his ass for what? Because he's being a dictator and sending National Guard members out on American streets without but usurping the authority of the local officials, when all he would have to do, this is besides the point, all he'd have to do is say, hey, look, we have a crime problem. I want to help you out. I have resources. Do you need me to send some National Guard troops? Can we work on this together? No, except he's just doing it because he's a dictator. But the stupid little circle back and all of that, why do you care what Jen Psaki says? Why do you care about that? Except you know that it's good for ratings and clicks and that people are going to say, oh, look, Sean, he's owning the libs. And then you're going to invite people on to do the same thing. It's just people who have all they want to do is just kiss Donald Trump's ass, and all they want to do is, like you, to keep power and to own the libs. You are blinded, deluded by your own ideology. That by you talk about identity politics, you identify with being a Republican or MAGA, a conservative, more than you identify with being a human being, with being empathetic, with being a real patriot. Because if you were a patriot and you cared about democracy, and if you were a believer and a Christian and all of that, then you would care about the lives of the children and the people who die because of guns every single day. Yes, and it is because of guns, because every country, every place on earth has mental health issues. People have problems all over the world, except they don't have as many guns as we do, you stupid fucking idiot. You should be ashamed of yourself. And you know who else should be ashamed of himself? That fucking sellout Byron Donalds, who you invited on because you know he's a bootlicker and he's gonna, yeah, Sean, yeah. And the president, we love him. Yeah. And the guns or whatever, just power. And probably you guys probably don't believe the bullshit that comes out of your mouth that you spew. But here it is.
Congressman, liberals kind of rushed in to make their commentary. I guess everyone has a political view and a cultural view of this. But your friend Jen Psaki posted on X, when kids are getting shot at in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe you should rethink your strategy. Setting aside the fact that that's a run-on sentence and a non sequitur, what's your point about that?
Jen Psaki is a hack trying to make a political point. The reality is the tragedy that occurred today in Minneapolis is once again where the Democrats are ignoring some of the serious mental health challenges affecting young people in the United States, especially around gender identity, this transgender movement that they have fully gotten behind.
The transgender movement. Now, Byron, can you just back up just a couple seconds of that? I just want to hear the last part when he talks about the transgender thing, because I want to get my thoughts correct. I want to my commentary correct.
Some of the serious mental health challenges affecting young people in the United States, especially around gender identity, this transgender movement that they have fully gotten behind.
Okay. Now, Byron Donalds is old enough, I'm sure, to have been around. I think he can read, I think his frontal cortex is closed and fully developed, his brain. And I think he knows better. So he's just doing this because for political and career expediency. Okay. So, and so of all the shootings, I think there have been like 2 trans shooters or what have you, people who identify as transgender. And you think about all of the shootings, school shootings, and just, these shootings for that when people just go off in crowds and whatever, and they, shoot up synagogues and schools and the Catholic Church, it's usually white men. You Byron Donalds, you know that, don't you? You know that. Right? You know that. Because you have the gall and the nerve to talk about, well, these the cities are liberal, these liberal black cities, and the kids and the thugs are doing, you play that, game, that like step and fetch it game. And then you want to blame transgender people. Byron Donalds, you probably didn't even know what transgender was until like a year or 2 ago, right? Because it became a talking point for the right, right? You didn't even like, oh, let's say transgender, right? And then so that you can sort of, do the Republican step and fetch it and do the thing. These liberals and that's not really the point. Now you could grab me the Trey Gowdy, please, from yesterday. What you could do if you were honest about it. Byron Donalds, Sean Hannity, what's her face? Laura Ingraham. By the way, Laura Ingraham, what did you do to your face? And your lips, holy shamoly. Because I've been around a long time. I've seen you, know you. Come on. If you had some integrity, then perhaps you would listen to someone like Trey Gowdy, who shockingly yesterday, just told the truth, said the quiet part out loud on Fox News. They should have played that over and over and over. I wonder how many times they invited Trey Gowdy to come back on after he said this.
Our system is reactive. Something bad happens, we react to it. And what people are crying for now is, how can we prevent this? How can we stop it? And the only way to stop it is to identify the shooter ahead of time or keep the weapons out of their hands. And so we're going to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. I mean, how many school shootings does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male, almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving a female.
It was in Tennessee.
One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males.
Do we not already have laws on the books for these types of situations?
Bring in this
Like what?
distraction question.
Well, murder.
Don't we have laws on the books already for these? Like what? What? Byron Donald, Sean Hannity, why don't you guys have a conversation with Trey Gowdy? Why don't you have a conversation with Trey Gowdy? And as a matter of fact, you should have a conversation with the mayor of Minneapolis, perhaps, who can offer you some insight. We're going to hear from the mayor right after this word from our sponsors. Support comes from 120 Life. High blood pressure is no joke. It is the #1 risk factor for mortality, and 1 in 2 adults has it. That is a coin flip on your life. 120 Life is a blend of superfruit juices that have been clinically shown to help lower blood pressure naturally without depending on big pharma. It is doctor recommended and loved by real people like Larry C. Larry C says it's easy to drink every morning and it works. He says, my wife and I have seen our numbers come down. Fred C says, finally, a product that does what it promises. I'm here to stay. Okay. So, and it's also beneficial for conditions like diabetes, and you can track your own progress with a simple home monitor. You can try it risk-free. And if you don't see lower numbers in 2 weeks, you get your money back. Go to 120life.com and use the code DON to save 20% off. That's 120life.com, code DON. Nothing to lose but your high blood pressure. Support comes from Delete Me. Your personal data is being bought and sold every single day. Your phone number, your home address, even your family members' information, okay? And that makes you vulnerable to identity theft, to phishing and harassment. As someone with a big online presence, I take this very seriously. And I've had my own information exposed before. And trust me, once your private life is out there, it's virtually impossible to take it back, but that's where Delete Me comes in, okay? So Delete Me makes it easy and quick to use to wipe your personal information off those sketchy people search sites. Their team does the work for you, continuously removing your data from hundreds of databases that profit from it. So take back control of your privacy. You get 20% off by texting DON to 64000. That's DON, D-O-N, to 64000. Again, DON to 64000. And protect yourself before someone else profits off of your information. Message and data fees may apply. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. Now, as promised, here is the mayor of Minneapolis speaking about what should be done, what can be done about this, what he needs leaders to do. Keep going.
I'm a mayor and I operate in the reality business. And the reality is that we have more guns in America than we have people. The reality is that we have these assault rifles that can reel off 30 clips in conjunction with a magazine before the person even needs to reload. The reality is that these guns make their way into cities across America by the trunk load. And it's terrifying. And so, look, we need an assault weapons ban nationwide. We need to have this high-capacity magazine ban. And finally, if the federal government isn't going to act or states aren't going to act, give us the ability to protect our constituents at home. Give mayors and council members the ability to protect in Minneapolis, 435,000 residents that call Minneapolis home and the many more that come and go. We need to stand up for the safety of every one of these kids and do it out of love. Don't do it out of hate. There's more than enough hate out there. Do it out of love for our children.
And folks like Sean Hannity and Byron Donald, and is it Donald or Donald? I don't know, with an S. I have no idea. I don't think Donald's, I guess. And Laura Ingraham, they have no compassion, and they won't do it out of love for the children, but they call themselves Christians and patriots. Maybe they should be listening to some of the parents and the families who are involved in this. Speaking out last night on CNN.
And I have such mixed feelings right now, so many of them. But I am just incredibly grateful that the school did and had been preparing, and also just incredibly sad and angry that this has to be a thing in any school, that we have to prepare our kids to protect themselves from an assault, from a firearm assault at school. And my mind is going everywhere. This is not the first time. I'm not the first parent to express these concerns. I'm not the first mom to say how many more kids have to get killed. And so it's a little bit like this is feeling like a broken record, and it's not okay. I'm so grateful to the staff and the first responders. They did amazing, and I do believe that they saved lives today, and the lives that were lost is too much. One is too much, and it's not okay.
Carla and Pedro, I'm so sorry for what everybody there is going through, and I'm so glad your kids are okay.
Oh,
and
thank you, guys. That's good. How do you say, how do you not listen to those families? How do you not? I don't understand. And how can you blame it on liberals and blame it on it's the guns, and it's not the guns? It's like, well, then what are they doing? Are they beating people up with their fists in mass numbers? What are you talking about? I don't understand it, except that people, as I said about Sean Hannity, they are so warped. It's like to me, it's like a mental issue that they are so warped and wrapped in their own ideologies that they cannot be human beings. RFK Jr. is now talking about maybe it's let me just tell you this. Since, I've taken antidepressants or whatever, SSRIs or whatever, there's a warning. It does say that it can cause, suicidal ideations or something like that. It can cause those kinds of things. That you have to monitor. So, okay, but you should be monitored when you're on those things, right? And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. I encourage people to, if they're doctors and they go to therapy and their doctors say, try this or whatever, usually you are monitored. When you're on those things, they ask you, especially if you're in therapy, have you had any thoughts about this or whatever? And have you noticed any changes in your body, in your thinking, and the aggression, all of those things that if you're truly doing them properly under a doctor's guidance, all of those things, the negatives can be mitigated. And you can try other things that will help you. But RFK, you know his thing about vaccines and all this stuff, and fluoride, and the water makes you gay, and all that stuff that they talk about. Here's RFK on the shooting.
Prevent it, and we're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear: you are dealing with a person who's trans. That was transitioning.
What color is he? I'm hoping this is bad lighting. I'm not just dogging him, but wow. Okay, sorry.
Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide, suicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about, in their clinical trials, that they saw suicidal and homicidal ideation. So, we are going into that with an open mind.
Okay. Wow. They will do anything, and the anchor, I forget his name, Brian Kilmeade, but with the leading question. So you're saying, yeah, he just said that, Brian. He just said it. Any excuse to blame anything except the proliferation of guns, and that most of this is usually done by young white men. But it's the drugs, it's the trans, it's everything else. And there's a method to their madness, because everybody got the script. Everybody got the thing that said, they got the message. We're all going to be on the same page. We're all going to carry the same water, the same thing for the party, for the MAGA, for the president. And this, because of things like this, guess what? We need to send more National Guard troops into the cities. That's where you knew that it was going. And Sean Hannity says as much.
But this horrific act of violence during the first week of school only underscores the need for more law and order and safety and security all around the country. This is something that we have been debating for weeks, something that President Trump now has put in the forefront of his agenda over the past several weeks, with a lot of opposition on the left, sending in the National Guard troop, for example, to clean up crime in D.C.
So there you go. There you go. It's all about carrying the water. It's not about any of the things that are going to prevent this from happening. I am with you. Alohaleni, Mayo. I am emotionally drained. Emotionally drained here. Look, I had so many things prepared to talk to you about the CDC director, because we said that, we wondered if MAGA is a death cult, right? Because they don't care about. We'll discuss the CDC director a little bit later on, because of what they're doing with the vaccines and all of that, and then the folks are resigning, and then one was fired because the administration doesn't like them. So we'll discuss that in a bit. I want to discuss one more thing before our time together is over. And that is, remember Donald Trump? Was it last week or the week before? I forget. Last week, I think. And when Donald Trump was just he and kikiing and clapping and applauding when Vladimir Putin went to Alaska, and it was like, oh my gosh, and when I think he's going to have a deal, and he, just loves him, never says an unkind word about him, but just denigrates and belittles and bullies the Ukrainian president, whose country was invaded, but for some reason, Putin, you have nothing but love, brother. I don't know what's going on, but we do know kind of what's going on. Man, I can't wait. And one day that compromise will come out. So there was supposed to be a ceasefire. Remember, ceasefire, we were making progress. I think, we have some things. And then we have this, a reporter talking about an attack that happened in Kyiv. Russia attacked Kyiv in Ukraine, not even a week after Vladimir Putin came over and the administration and Donald Trump claimed that they had made progress. Here it is.
So this building behind me is the British Council, and they basically support peace and prosperity between Ukraine and the United Kingdom. And it's been destroyed by a Russian missile this morning. And this building regularly, on a daily basis, contains British government staff, British employees, and the Russians know that. And the Russians decided to put a missile into this street at the early hours of this morning. And moments like this should wake people up in the United Kingdom that Russia isn't just at war with Ukrainians, they're at war with everybody in the West. They were perfectly happy to hit this building, and they'll be perfectly happy to hit buildings like it continuously. And if you look around at this street, there are no military targets. This is a residential street filled with people sleeping, children sleeping, and again, the British government building.
Someone says it's true. Ukraine was bombed during the Alaskan briefing. This one is something else, though. Look at some of the destruction here. That was the actual missile hitting. You guys cannot believe anything this administration says. I'm sorry. If this administration, if Donald Trump's lips are moving, he's lying. If Tulsi Gabbard's lips are moving, she's lying. Pam Bondi, lying. Same thing. Pete Hegseth, lying. Kash Patel, lying. They'll do anything to cover up the fact that their dear leader is in the Epstein files a number of times, that they've had his name redacted. Does this one have audio on it? This is after the alleged progress from the meeting, the summit in Alaska. There you go. That's your administration saying this is what progress is. Is there another video? Is that this? That's it.
We have a video of some residents describing the bombing.
Yes. And here's some of, I want you to pay attention because they're speaking Russian and I believe they're speaking Russian. But here it is, or Ukraine.
О 4 ранку почалися свисти ракет. Ти розумієш, що треба йти вже в укриття. Якраз ми, коли вийшли з будинку, то от якраз свист сирени прям лунав над головою. І це такий страшенний тваринний жах, який от прям холодом проходить по цій повністю частині тіла і ніби тебе так голками пронизує.
Демонстративна терористична атака для того, щоб підкреслити, що вони били і будуть бити по нашим об'єктам критичної та житлової інфраструктури. Вони й далі намагаються не тільки знищити інфраструктуру, але залякати наших людей для того, щоб ми впали в паніку і якусь невизначеність.
Спочатку чула вибухи просто на фоні. Потім один сильний вибух, і тоді вже вибило вікна, і я хотіла вже вставати бігти, але одразу прям, буквально пару секунд, і вже другий вибух був. І тоді вже все, ми вибігаємо, двері, вікно немає, але добре, що всі живі.
Yeah, And someone in the comment section said, Don, we were telling you this when you were over there working for CNN. You guys were not happy that I was in Ukraine. But while I was there was an energy compound that was bombed. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've been bombarded enough today. Here is, if you want to know anything about our show, by the way, thank you. Can we show some of the new members and thank them real quick? So thank you so much, new members. Thank you, Patty Mays. Because of Patty's generosity, 5 people get to become members of the Lemon Nation. Thank you, Saint Sosa Grands. Thank you, Tammy Brown. Because of your generosity, 5 people get to become members of the Lemon Nation. Thank you, Saint Sosa Grands, for your generous support. Thank you very much, San Sosa Grands. I am trans, same mental, smugs don't matter. Gender, yeah. Everybody's mental issues, the gender does not matter, and that's not really what's important here. What's important is that the proliferation of guns. Don't get it twisted. Thank you, Brent Vineyard. Welcome to the Elimination. Welcome to the Elimination, Gene. This is ridiculous, and we need to do better for our children and their future. Norman Sowards, thank you. Because of Norman's generosity, 5 people get to become members of the Lemon Nation. And thank you, Don Cooper, as well. Welcome to the Lemon Nation. All of you, all of our new members, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy that you're here, including the folks who send in their pictures at thedonlemonshow@gmail.com, the folks who are buying the merch. You asked me about the merch. You asked for it. You got it. I gave you some merch, and you guys are loving it. Let's see. Who is this? Who do we have?
We have Deborah and Nakia Johnson from the Bronx.
Wow. But they're not in the Bronx there. Looks like they're in, Gay Paris, right in front of the Tour DFL, the Eiffel Tower. Beautiful ladies. Thank you. And they have their Lemon Nation shirts on there. Gorgeous. Thank you. Oh, is this from them as well?
Yes.
Wow. And they've got their old people be known. They love that, right? Nikki, we got to work on that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. It's on the list.
All right. And then there it is. The Lemon Nation. Old people be knowing Don Lemon Show mugs. Thank you, guys. Okay. And if you want to know anything about the show, all you have to do is go to donlemon.com. Go to donlemon.com. And you can, if you want our main show, it's right there. Click on watch, and there you go. And you can subscribe. Here's the thing, guys. You have to become a subscriber. Everybody who's listening to me, can you just double check to make sure that you're a subscriber? And if you're not, subscribe. Okay? You can subscribe. There's a subscribe button on the iPhone, right? Yes? No? Nikki? No?
I believe.
Subscribe, yes.
Yes. But not our join button is not up yet. What is going on, YouTube? When last we checked a short time ago, we did not see the Don Lemon Show join button. So we have to work that out. So anyways, but, is it on there? No, it's not on there yet. I don't think so. But you can subscribe on there, and you can get notifications, okay? And so also you can, if you're there, if you go onto the main page, you go on store, and that will take you to our merch, okay? And then if you go back out to the Don Lemon Show, the donlemon.com, anything you need, wherever you want to watch us, it's right there on donlemon.com. And also, if you click on merch, boom, merch right there. Back out, Andy. I want to show folks something too. And if you click on Substack, if you click on Substack, you'll see there we are right there, the Substack page. And then I just posted something you guys asked about Gaza. You want to know about Gaza and how I feel about Gaza and what's going on there? Go to the Substack. Leave a comment. Children cannot eat denial, meaning Israel is denying the famine and children are starving. People are starving. By Don Lemon and Peter Rothplatz, okay? So go check that out over on the Substack. Thank you guys for everything. So I didn't mean to depress you today. I hope I did not depress you, but I have to deliver the news to you. Let me know. I've been reaching out to my friend Jen Psaki. She said she's going to come on. I would have called her during this show, but I'm give her some time, and we'll try to. You guys want to have Jen on? Would you want to hear from her this evening? Is that cool? If you do, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to cheer you up a little bit here because you guys asked for it. All right, because you guys are now saying, "Play the song, play the song, play the song." So, welcome to the. Let me just call out to people before we play the song. Rhodesia Wright, welcome to the Lemon Nation. And yeah, thank you again. Saint Sosa Grands, thank you so much for your generous support. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go.
It's the Don Lemon Show. It's the Don Lemon Show. He's unmasking the truth. He don't take no shit. It's the Don Lemon Show. Don Lemon. Don, 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 Don. Release the Epstein files.
Thank you, Matt Gregory. Go to Instagram. It's Matt Gregory on Instagram. And Tracy Ferry, welcome to the Lemon Nation. All of our new members, welcome. Thank you for that. I hope you guys have a great day. Until I see you back here at 5 o'clock Eastern time for Lemon Live at 5. You can be informed without being inundated. So turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support.